Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could tell a story spanning more than 6 decades. A tiny piece of copper and zinc, yet it carries history, mystery, and sometimes even unexpected value. One coin that has quietly captured the attention of collectors is the 1960 Lincoln penny. What makes this seemingly ordinary coin worth a closer look? Today, we'll uncover the secrets behind this little copper piece, why it fascinates collectors, and how it has quietly made its mark in the world of numismatics. The 1960 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of Lincoln cents, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. By 1960, the penny had already been in circulation for over 50 years, and its design had become familiar to every American. The coin features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front side, a design created by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, the traditional wheat ears design, known as the wheat cent, frames the words 1 cent, a design that would remain until 1958, but some transitional examples appear in 1960 pennies. The D mint mark, located just below the date, signifies that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the United States Mint's primary facilities. The year 1960 was an interesting period in American coinage. The nation was moving past the post-war era into a time of growth and optimism. Coins were still being made primarily of a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This made the Lincoln penny heavier and more durable than the modern coins we use today. That same year, over 500 million pennies were produced in Denver alone, making them common in everyday circulation. Yet, despite their abundance, certain factors make some of these coins stand out to collectors. The 1960 Lincoln penny may appear ordinary at first glance, but it has subtle features that make it unique. Like other Lincoln pennies of its era, it carries the elegant, timeless profile of Lincoln, with finely detailed hair and beard. The wheat ears on the reverse are clean and symmetrical, a detail that collectors pay attention to. Some 1960 pennies also carry minting errors that can significantly increase their value. These errors include double dies, where the image appears slightly duplicated, or off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned. Coins with such errors are rare and highly sought after because they are unintentional, unique pieces of minting history. But why is the 1960 penny considered rare or valuable in certain circumstances? The truth is, while most 1960 pennies are common and worth only a few cents, examples in uncirculated condition, with full mint luster and no wear, can be surprisingly valuable. Coins with minting errors are even more sought after. For example, a 1960 penny with a significant doubling on the date or the word Liberty can command prices well above its face value. Even minor variations, like a slightly off-center strike or a weak mint mark, can make a coin appealing to collectors because each one is unique. Real-world examples help illustrate this point. In recent years, top-quality 1960 pennies graded by professional services have sold for hundreds of dollars. A coin in pristine condition with perfect surfaces and no scratches might fetch $300 or more at auction. Those with notable errors or anomalies have sold for several $1,000s, especially when verified by grading companies. These values may seem extraordinary for a coin that once passed through countless hands in everyday transactions, but they reflect the coin's historical significance, rarity, and collector demand. Identifying a genuine 1960 penny is relatively straightforward if you know what to look for. The D mint mark, a small, clean letter beneath the date, should be clearly defined. Collectors also examine the coin's weight and composition, checking that it matches the standard 95% copper and 5% zinc. Signs of wear or alterations can indicate a reproduction, while authentic coins will show natural aging and toning, especially around the edges and fields. Professional grading services can confirm authenticity, particularly for high-value or error coins. There are some fun and surprising details about the 1960 penny that make it even more interesting. For one, it was produced during a year when the Lincoln cent was transitioning in its production techniques. Some coins from that year may show variations in color, from deep reddish-brown to a lighter, almost golden hue, depending on how long they were stored before circulation. Another intriguing fact is that the Denver Mint, known for producing high-quality coins, sometimes created subtle differences in design details compared to coins from Philadelphia or San Francisco, giving collectors tiny clues to pinpoint a coin's origin without even looking at the mint mark closely. Collectors love the 1960 Lincoln penny today for several reasons. Its connection to a pivotal time in American history, combined with the potential for rare minting errors, makes it a small but significant piece of numismatic heritage. The coin represents not just currency, but a story, the story of Lincoln's enduring legacy, the craftsmanship of mid-20th century minting, and the thrill of discovering a hidden gem among ordinary pennies. For those who inherit coins from family collections or stumble upon one in circulation, finding a high-quality 1960 penny can feel like uncovering a secret from the past. Even decades after it was minted, this penny continues to spark curiosity. Its seemingly simple design holds layers of historical and collectible value, waiting for those who know how to look. Whether it's the crisp detail of Lincoln's profile, the subtle variations in the wheat ears, or a rare minting error, the 1960 penny offers more than just a glance. It offers a connection to history and a chance for discovery. So, the next time you pick up a penny, consider what it might hold. Could it be a 1960 Lincoln penny in uncirculated condition, carrying the potential to surprise you or even change the way you see something as ordinary as a coin? Every coin has a story, but only a few whisper it as quietly, yet as profoundly, as this tiny piece of history. Keep your eyes open, because you never know when a 1960 Lincoln penny might cross your path, and when it does, it might just be the coin that makes history feel a little closer to home. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in the palm of your hand. So small it almost goes unnoticed, yet it could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One coin, minted over 6 decades ago, has quietly captured the fascination of collectors across the country. The 1961 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might seem like just another ordinary copper coin, but there's a story hidden in every detail of its design and history that makes it far more intriguing than any penny you'll find in your pocket today. The 1961 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which first appeared in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It features the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner, and a simple wheat stalk reverse that American coin collectors call the wheat penny. But what makes the 1961 so special isn't immediately obvious. Its mint mark, the small d located just below the date, indicates it was produced at the Denver Mint, one of only 2 mints striking Lincoln cents in that year. 1961 was a period of transition and growth in the United States. The country was in the early years of the Kennedy administration, and coins like this were being struck in vast quantities to meet everyday commerce. The Denver Mint produced millions of Lincoln pennies that year, making the 1961 a familiar sight in wallets and cash registers. Yet, despite its high production numbers, there are versions of this coin that are surprisingly rare and highly sought after today. The 1961 Lincoln penny is made primarily of copper, with a small amount of tin and zinc. This composition gives it the warm reddish-brown tone that collectors adore. The obverse, or front, features Abraham Lincoln in profile, looking toward the right. The detail in his hair, the lines on his face, and the shape of his coat collar make it one of the most recognizable images in American numismatics. On the reverse, the classic wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbols of simple, enduring design. One interesting aspect of this coin lies in its minor variations and errors. While most 1961 pennies are perfectly struck, collectors have discovered examples with double dies or slight off-center strikes. These imperfections, while rare, can dramatically increase the value of the coin. Even small differences in the clarity of Lincoln's features or the depth of the mint mark can make a coin stand out in a crowded field of ordinary cents. Now, you might be wondering why a coin minted in the millions could possibly be considered rare or valuable. The truth is that rarity isn't just about numbers. It's about condition, historical significance, and unique characteristics. A 1961 penny that has been preserved in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and minimal wear, can fetch impressive sums. Collectors pay attention to the coin's luster, the clarity of the mint mark, and even the subtle coloring of the copper. A penny that has maintained its original reddish sheen, without turning brown or gray, is far more desirable than one worn down by circulation. Real-world examples demonstrate the surprising market value of these coins. For instance, a 1961D penny graded as MS-65, which stands for Mint State 65, recently sold for several $100s in a private auction. While the average circulated 1961D penny might only be worth a few cents to a collector, those in uncirculated condition can climb well into the hundreds, and in exceptional cases with rare errors even exceed $1,000. These coins show that patience and careful observation can pay off for collectors who know what to look for. Identifying an authentic 1961D penny is surprisingly straightforward if you know the key details. First, examine the mint mark. The D should be clear and well-formed, located just beneath the date. Coins that appear too shiny, overly smooth, or have inconsistent lettering may be modern replicas. Weight and size also matter. The 1961D penny weighs 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters in diameter. Experienced collectors use magnification to check the details of Lincoln's hair and beard, as well as the spacing of the wheat stalks on the reverse. Any inconsistencies can signal a counterfeit or altered coin. One fun fact about the 1961D penny is how it quietly reflects the era in which it was minted. The early 1960s were a time of optimism, innovation, and cultural change in America. The coin, with its simple yet dignified design, embodies a sense of enduring stability amid a rapidly changing world. It's fascinating to think that pennies like this were in circulation during historic moments, from the first manned spaceflights to the height of the American Civil Rights Movement. Owning a 1961D Lincoln penny is like holding a tiny witness to history. Collectors also appreciate the 1961D penny for its accessibility. While rare errors and high-grade examples are valuable, the basic coin itself is not out of reach for most enthusiasts. This balance of availability and potential for discovery makes it an ideal coin for new collectors looking to start a meaningful collection without spending a fortune. Many coin collectors recall the excitement of hunting through rolls of pennies, hoping to uncover a gem from 1961 or another key year. Today, the 1961D Lincoln penny holds a special place in the hearts of numismatists. Its understated design, historical context, and the occasional rare variation make it a coin worth studying, collecting, and treasuring. Whether you find one tucked away in a jar of old coins, inherited from a grandparent, or purchased from a reputable dealer, it offers a tangible connection to the past. Its story reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry immense value, both monetary and sentimental. If you happen to come across a 1961D Lincoln penny, take a moment to examine it closely. Notice the details in Lincoln's face, the texture of the wheat stalks, and the shape of the mint mark. Consider the journey this coin has taken, passing through countless hands, surviving decades of use, and still appearing almost as it did the day it left the Denver Mint. Who knows? Among the countless pennies minted that year, you might just have one that stands out. A coin with a story to tell, a piece of history waiting quietly to be discovered. The next time you glance at a jar of old pennies or sift through a collection, remember the 1961D Lincoln penny. Small, unassuming, and yet potentially priceless. It's a reminder that history often hides in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to recognize its worth. And perhaps, hidden among ordinary coins, lies your next remarkable discovery. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that millions of Americans have overlooked for decades. A coin so ordinary at first glance, yet potentially worth thousands of dollars to the right collector. This is the story of the 1972 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that has quietly fascinated collectors and sparked curiosity across the country. Today, we'll uncover its history, its unique traits, and why it remains a hidden treasure in plain sight. The 1972 Lincoln penny is one of those coins that almost everyone has seen in their spare change, yet few truly understand its significance. At its core, it's a 1-cent coin, part of the long-running Lincoln series first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. But what sets this particular penny apart is something subtle yet crucial: a missing mint mark. In 1972, pennies were being produced at two mints: Philadelphia, which traditionally carried no mint mark, and Denver, which bore a small D on the coin. The absence of a mint mark on certain coins, combined with production quirks, makes some of these coins rare, desirable, and even valuable in the world of coin collecting. To understand why the 1972 no mint mark penny is so intriguing, it helps to look back at the context of its production. The early 1970s were a time of change for U.S. coinage. Copper prices were rising, and the mint faced growing pressure to produce coins efficiently while keeping costs low. Pennies at this time were still primarily made of a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a formula that had been standard for decades. By 1972, billions of pennies were being struck to meet the needs of commerce, yet within this massive production, subtle variations could occur, creating unexpected rarities for attentive collectors. The design of the 1972 Lincoln penny follows the classic blueprint that had been familiar to Americans for decades. The obverse side features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, capturing the dignity and resolve of the 16th president. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial appears, a design that had been used since 1959. It's a design that feels timeless, almost ordinary, yet the details of its minting can hide extraordinary secrets. The coin measures just over 19 millimeters in diameter, weighs 3.11 grams, and carries the coppery tone that generations of pennies are known for. While most of these coins are commonplace, collectors have discovered that even small production anomalies can make a significant difference in value. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1972 penny is how it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia pennies traditionally carried no mint mark. However, errors in striking or in planchet preparation could result in coins that are subtly different from the standard issues, catching the eye of collectors. A 1972 penny with no mint mark can be mistaken for the ordinary Philadelphia release. Yet in some cases, it carries unique characteristics, double dies, small variations in the lettering, or faint imperfections that can elevate its value considerably. So why does this coin hold value beyond its face 1-cent denomination? The answer lies in rarity and demand. Coins that appear ordinary but are actually scarce due to minting errors or limited distribution are highly sought after. For the 1972 no mint mark penny, certain examples have been identified with die errors, slight doubling of letters, or unusual planchet inconsistencies that make them collectible. These small details are often invisible to the casual observer, yet to a seasoned numismatist, they are the key to unlocking potential value. In some cases, collectors have paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars for a well-preserved 1972 penny with the right attributes, particularly if it's in high-grade condition with clear details and minimal wear. Real-world examples of this coin changing hands show just how surprising its market can be. In online auctions and collector shows, a standard 1972 penny might still exchange for just a few cents or a few dollars. But a 1972 no mint mark penny with a pronounced die error or exceptional quality can fetch much higher prices. One auction documented a near-perfect example selling for several $100s, while rarer variations with noticeable minting anomalies have reached figures in the low thousands. These transactions highlight a fascinating truth about coin collecting. Even the most ordinary coins can hold extraordinary potential if the right eyes recognize them. Identifying a real 1972 no mint mark penny versus a counterfeit or misrepresented coin requires careful observation. First, look closely at the absence of a mint mark on the obverse, just below the date. Then examine the overall strike quality and detail on Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial. Signs of double dies, slight misalignments, or unusual markings can indicate a rare variation. Authentic coins will feel consistent in weight and composition, with the familiar copper color and mint luster. Collectors often use magnification to inspect these coins closely, looking for subtle details invisible to the untrained eye. Even slight scratches or irregularities from circulation can affect value, so handling coins carefully is essential. There are also surprising facts about the 1972 penny that make it even more intriguing. For instance, while billions of pennies were minted that year, the precise number of no mint mark pennies with collectible errors is relatively small. Many of these coins were used in everyday transactions, meaning that over time, many have been lost, damaged, or simply overlooked in drawers and jars. Some collectors have discovered that coins found in old cash registers or piggy banks are in much better condition than those that circulated heavily, creating opportunities for lucky finds. Another interesting point is that the 1972 penny sits at the intersection of historical value and collectible appeal. It's a coin that represents both the era in which it was made and the enduring fascination with Lincoln's image on U.S. currency. Collectors today love this coin not just for its monetary value, but also for the story it tells. Owning a 1972 no-mint mark penny is like holding a small piece of history in your hand. It represents a snapshot of the early 1970s, a time when America was changing rapidly, yet the penny remained a constant in daily life. For coin enthusiasts, the thrill is in discovering these hidden gems and appreciating the intricate details of their production. Whether displayed in a collection or stored carefully in protective sleeves, these coins carry both nostalgia and potential, offering a tangible link to a past era that can still spark curiosity and excitement today. Even casual observers may find themselves intrigued by the subtle power of this coin. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. A coin as seemingly ordinary as a 1-cent piece can carry stories of minting errors, historical significance, and collector demand that elevate it far beyond its face value. And while not every 1972 penny will make someone wealthy, the hunt for the rare no-mint mark variety embodies the joy and fascination of collecting itself. So next time you dig through a jar of pennies, pause for a moment and take a closer look. Among the thousands of ordinary coins, a 1972 no-mint mark Lincoln penny might be waiting quietly, holding secrets that could surprise you. Its subtle anomalies, rich history, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln make it more than just a coin. It's a small artifact that connects the past to the present. And who knows, that overlooked penny in your pocket could very well be the hidden treasure that sparks your own journey into the captivating world of coin collecting. The story of the 1972 no-mint mark penny reminds us that history often hides in the smallest details. It invites curiosity, rewards patience, and challenges us to look beyond the surface of the everyday objects around us. And as long as there are collectors searching, historians studying, and enthusiasts dreaming, the fascination with coins like this one will never fade. Keep your eyes open, handle your coins carefully, and remember, sometimes, the most ordinary objects can carry the most extraordinary surprises. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand and realizing it could be worth more than you ever imagined. Not just a coin you drop in a jar, but a piece of history, a rare find that could capture the attention of collectors across the country. Today, we're talking about one of those elusive treasures, the 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks just like the pennies you've seen in your pocket, but there's something extraordinary about it that makes coin enthusiasts search high and low. The 1971 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series honoring the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. First introduced in 1909, the Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage for over a century. Each penny tells a story, not just about the metal it's made of, but about the era in which it was minted. The 1971 penny was produced during a time when the United States was undergoing significant changes. The Vietnam War was ongoing, the space race was capturing imaginations, and American culture was shifting rapidly. Against this backdrop, the humble penny continued its quiet journey through the pockets and cash registers of everyday Americans. The 1971 Lincoln penny was primarily minted in Philadelphia and Denver. The key detail that makes the coin we're focusing on so intriguing is the missing mint mark. Normally, pennies from Philadelphia carried no mint mark, while those from Denver were stamped with a D. But what makes the 1971 no mint mark penny rare is not just its origin. It's the subtle variations and anomalies that sometimes appear during the minting process. Coins without mint marks from Philadelphia are common, but a 1971 penny with certain specific characteristics can become a rare collector's item. Physically, the 1971 penny is made of a copper alloy. After 1962, Lincoln cents were primarily 95% copper and 5% zinc, which gives them that familiar reddish-brown color that darkens with age. On the obverse, or front, of the coin, you'll find Abraham Lincoln's profile, a design that has remained largely unchanged since 1909. His solemn gaze, the details in his hair, and the words "In God We Trust" are engraved clearly, symbolizing both continuity and tradition. On the reverse, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, which had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. Every element of the design is precise, yet in rare cases, small errors or variations appear, turning an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. What makes the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so special isn't immediately obvious. The rarity often lies in subtle minting errors. For example, some coins might show doubled die impressions, where the lettering or numbers appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the striking process. Others may exhibit die cracks or weak strikes, where the design isn't fully formed. These small irregularities are highly sought after by collectors because they are unique to specific production runs and cannot be replicated. Even a minor anomaly can raise a coin's value dramatically, turning a common penny into a prized collectible. Collectors and auction houses have recognized the value of rare 1971 pennies over the years. While a standard 1971 penny might be worth only a few cents, those with unique minting errors or in exceptionally pristine condition can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. For instance, coins that are graded as mint state, meaning they are almost perfect with no signs of wear, can fetch higher prices in specialized auctions. In one documented sale, a 1971 Lincoln penny with a subtle doubling error sold for a significant premium, highlighting how even the smallest variations can capture collector interest. The value of these coins depends on factors like rarity, condition, and historical significance, but the thrill of discovery drives collectors to keep searching. Identifying a genuine 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny requires careful observation. A real coin will have consistent weight and dimensions with the official specifications, approximately 19 millimeters in diameter and 2.5 grams in weight. Look closely at the details of Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, and the reverse design. Authentic coins have sharp, clear lines, while counterfeits may appear blurry or uneven. Certain minting errors, like die doubling or slight misalignments, can actually serve as markers of authenticity when compared against official records or verified examples. For collectors, it's often wise to consult a reputable grading service or experienced numismatist to confirm a coin's legitimacy before buying or selling. There are several surprising details that make the 1971 penny more fascinating than its simple appearance suggests. For one, it represents a period in U.S. history when coin production was undergoing subtle shifts. The early 1970s were marked by experimentation and attention to detail at the mint, which means minor anomalies are more common than one might expect. Additionally, pennies from this era can provide insights into the metal composition trends and minting technology of the time. For those who love history, holding a 1971 penny is like holding a small piece of the early 1970s. A tangible connection to a moment in American life that continues to resonate decades later. Collectors are drawn to the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny not just for its potential monetary value, but for the thrill of discovery and the satisfaction of owning a piece of history. These coins represent a bridge between past and present, a story etched in copper that tells us about the people, technology, and culture of the era. The excitement isn't just in the coin's appearance, but in the hunt itself. Searching through rolls of pennies, examining coins under magnification, and spotting those rare anomalies offers a sense of adventure and accomplishment. Each coin has the potential to tell a story, and finding a rare 1971 penny is like discovering a hidden chapter of American history. Even for casual collectors, the 1971 penny serves as a reminder that value is often hidden in plain sight. What seems ordinary can be extraordinary, depending on the story it carries and the rarity it represents. Some enthusiasts display these coins in albums, while others keep them carefully stored in protective holders to preserve their condition. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone simply curious about American history, the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny invites you to look closer, to notice details, and to appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into every coin. So, next time you find a 1971 penny, don't just toss it in your jar or leave it in your pocket. Take a moment to examine it, study the details, and consider the story it carries. Could it have a subtle minting error that makes it rare? Could it be the next coin that excites a collector halfway across the country? The world of coins is full of surprises, and sometimes the most ordinary-looking penny can become the most extraordinary discovery. The 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark reminds us that history, value, and curiosity are often found in the smallest of places. Keep looking, keep learning, and who knows? The next coin you pick up might be worth far more than you ever imagined. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could be worth far more than its face value. One small, copper-plated piece of history that could turn a casual collection into a hidden treasure. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1975 Lincoln penny, a coin that many Americans have in their pocket change, but few truly understand. What makes it special, and why do collectors search for it with such intensity? Stay with me as we uncover the surprising story behind this unassuming little coin. The 1975 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running series of 1-cent coins honoring Abraham Lincoln. The D mint mark indicates it was minted in Denver, one of the two primary mints producing pennies that year, the other being Philadelphia. To the average person, it may look just like any other penny you've held, but to collectors, it carries a mix of history, subtle quirks, and sometimes hidden value. To understand this coin, we have to go back to 1975. The United States was emerging from a period of economic change and facing rising inflation. The penny, a simple copper-plated coin, remained a staple of daily life. The design, however, was nothing new. Abraham Lincoln had appeared on the obverse or front of the penny since 1909 in honor of his 100th birthday. The reverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, featured the familiar Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The 1975 penny wasn't created for any special occasion, but like all coins, it carries the story of the era in which it was made. At that time, pennies were struck primarily from a copper alloy, composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This gives the coin a distinct reddish-brown color that can develop a rich patina over time, something collectors often prize. The minting process itself was precise, but no process is entirely free from errors, and that is where the coin sometimes becomes intriguing to collectors. While the 1975 penny is not typically considered a rare date in the Lincoln series, certain variations and conditions can make a particular coin stand out. Some pennies from this year show striking differences, such as double dies, where the design appears slightly doubled due to a misalignment during minting. There are also occasional off-center strikes or small die cracks that create subtle lines across the surface. These anomalies are not common, and when they appear in good condition, they can attract significant attention from collectors. The coin's value also depends heavily on its condition. Most circulated 1975 pennies are worth only a few cents above face value. However, an uncirculated penny, particularly one graded by professional services, can reach higher prices. Coins with notable mint errors, such as double dies or significant off-center strikes, have been known to sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction. For instance, a 1975 penny with a prominent double die error sold online recently for over $1,200, illustrating that even a coin many people overlook can become a prized collectible. Knowing how to identify a real 1975 penny is important if you're hunting for hidden value. Start by examining the mint mark. A genuine Denver mint penny will have a small D just below the date on the obverse. The date itself should be clear and evenly struck. Look for the color and texture typical of a 95% copper coin. Be cautious of coins that appear unusually shiny or heavy, as these may be plated replicas or altered pieces. If you suspect a coin has an error that could increase its value, it's wise to consult a professional coin grading service, which can authenticate the coin and provide a standardized value. Beyond errors and condition, the 1975 penny carries a few subtle but interesting features. For example, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse is finely detailed, and in some well-preserved examples, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a detail easily missed by casual observers. Collectors also enjoy comparing the minting characteristics between Denver and Philadelphia pennies, noting slight differences in strike depth, metal composition, and luster. These nuances make the coin more than just a piece of metal. They make it a window into the craftsmanship of American minting in the 1970s. Collectors today are drawn to the 1975 penny not just for its potential monetary value, but for the story it tells. Each coin represents a moment in time, a connection to everyday life in the United States nearly 50 years ago. Holding one is like holding a piece of history, a tangible reminder of the past. It's a simple coin with a face we all recognize, yet it has the power to surprise and delight those who know where to look. Fun facts about the Lincoln Penny series make the 1975D even more intriguing. For instance, Lincoln remains the only president to have appeared on a circulating U.S. coin for more than a century. And although the composition of the penny has changed several times over the years, the basic design elements have remained remarkably consistent. This continuity allows collectors to study subtle differences across decades, turning even ordinary pennies into fascinating subjects of observation. The appeal of the 1975D penny also lies in its accessibility. Unlike extremely rare coins that sell for tens of thousands of dollars, this coin can often be found in circulation or purchased at modest prices. Yet, with careful examination, patience, and a bit of luck, a collector might discover a version that commands far more. It's the thrill of possibility, the knowledge that a simple coin in your pocket could hold a hidden story or even a hidden fortune in the world of coin collecting. The 1975D Lincoln penny holds a special place. It may not be the most famous or the most valuable coin in the series, but it represents the essence of what makes collecting so compelling: history, craftsmanship, and the potential for discovery. Every scratch, every patina, every subtle variation tells a story that dates back decades. For collectors, these coins are more than currency. They are pieces of a shared heritage, each with its own character and secrets waiting to be uncovered. So next time you hold a 1975D penny, take a closer look. Examine the date, the mint mark, the fine lines of the Lincoln Memorial. Consider the years it has spent circulating, the hands it has passed through, and the quiet history it carries. Whether it's a common coin or one with a hidden error, it connects us to a moment in American history, a tiny artifact of a larger story. And perhaps, somewhere in a jar of pennies or a forgotten drawer, there's a 1975D Lincoln penny waiting to surprise its owner with a story, or even a fortune, that has been decades in the making. History has a way of hiding in the smallest places, and sometimes the most ordinary coin can become extraordinary if you know what to look for. Could the next great discovery be as close as your pocket change? Only time and careful observation will tell. The 1975D Lincoln penny may seem like just a small coin, but in the right hands, it's a doorway to history, curiosity, and perhaps even unexpected value. Imagine holding a tiny piece of American history in the palm of your hand, a coin that millions of people pass through their fingers every day, yet only a few truly understand its hidden story. One small penny, minted in 1976 at the Denver Mint, holds more than just copper and zinc. It carries a moment in time, a piece of history, and, for some, a surprising value that can spark the imagination of collectors everywhere. This is the story of the 1976D Lincoln penny, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance but has intrigued numismatists for decades. The Lincoln penny is one of the most recognizable coins in the United States, and the 1976D penny is no exception. Minted in Denver, the D mark signifies its origin, and it was part of the centennial celebration era of the United States. While most people remember the Lincoln penny simply as the copper coin in their pocket, these coins often have subtle features, stories, and quirks that make them collectible. The 1976D Lincoln penny is one of those coins that, though common in circulation, has aspects that set it apart in the eyes of collectors. To understand why this coin is interesting, it helps to know a bit about the context of 1976. The United States was celebrating its bicentennial, and while the Lincoln penny didn't get a new design that year, the nation was very focused on coins as symbols of history. The economy was recovering from inflation, and coins were being produced in record numbers. The Denver Mint, one of the busiest mints in the country, struck millions of pennies that year, yet the 1976D has quietly earned a reputation for some subtle variations and qualities that make collectors take notice. The 1976D penny, like other Lincoln cents of that era, was made primarily of copper, with a thin layer of zinc coating the surface. This composition gives it that familiar reddish-brown appearance, though over time many have faded to a darker hue or developed a greenish patina. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln's portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, a familiar image that has appeared on pennies since 1909. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. While the design seems standard, careful examination reveals subtle differences in strike quality, lettering, and even the shape of Lincoln's features on some coins. Some of the most intriguing aspects of the 1976 D penny are the minor errors and variations that collectors look for. In certain years, small details like double die impressions, off-center strikes, or unusually strong or weak mint marks can make a coin far more desirable. While not every 1976 D penny will have these anomalies, a few rare examples have been found with slight doubling on the date or on the word Liberty, making them particularly sought after. These small mistakes are not flaws in the traditional sense. They are rare accidents of the minting process that make a coin unique, almost like nature's fingerprints in metal. Why is this penny valuable to collectors? Unlike coins that are universally rare, the 1976 D's appeal lies in its condition and any subtle errors it may have. Coins that were never circulated, preserved in mint condition, or show a strong strike are much more likely to attract attention. A perfect 1976 D penny in uncirculated condition, for example, might sell for several dollars at a local coin show or online marketplace, while a specimen with a rare doubling or other minor minting error could fetch even higher prices. It's not the sheer scarcity of the coin that makes it special. It's the combination of history, condition, and the thrill of discovery. Collectors often look at auction records to understand the real market value. In recent years, 1976 D pennies in excellent condition have sold at numismatic auctions for modest sums, usually between $2 and $10 for standard uncirculated coins. However, coins with unusual die variations or striking errors have gone for much higher amounts, sometimes reaching into the hundreds. These sales illustrate an important principle in coin collecting. It's not just the year or mint mark, but the story the coin tells through its wear, its imperfections, and its preservation that determines its worth. If you are trying to identify a real 1976 D Lincoln penny, there are a few simple tips. First, look for the mint mark just below the date on the obverse side. It should be a clear D for Denver. Examine the details of Lincoln's profile and the memorial on the reverse. Sharp, well-defined lines indicate a coin in good condition. Be cautious of coins that look too shiny or perfect, as some replicas and altered coins exist in the market. The weight and thickness of the coin should feel consistent with the standard Lincoln cent, and any unusual features should be cross-referenced with reputable coin guides or collector resources. A little careful observation can prevent disappointment and help you spot a truly collectible specimen. There are also some fun and surprising details about the 1976 D penny. Despite being a small, everyday object, it represents a snapshot of American life in the mid-1970s. During this time, coins like this penny would have been in people's pockets during historic events, from the Bicentennial celebrations to the Montreal Summer Olympics, and even during the height of popular culture phenomena like disco and classic films. It's fascinating to think that the same coin you hold may have traveled across the country in someone's wallet, survived decades of circulation, and now sits as a potential treasure for collectors. Collectors today appreciate the 1976 D Lincoln penny not just for its value, but for the tangible connection it provides to history. It's a coin that represents more than money. It represents craftsmanship, culture, and continuity. The appeal lies in the thrill of discovery, the joy of holding a piece of the past, and the opportunity to find something rare among seemingly ordinary coins. For many, finding a high-quality 1976 D penny or a coin with a subtle error can be the highlight of a collection. A reminder that even the smallest objects can have great stories to tell. Consider the 1976 D Lincoln penny. Think about it not only as a coin but as a story waiting to be uncovered. Each scratch, each patina, each subtle doubling in the letters or numbers tells a tale of production, circulation, and preservation. Even if you never plan to buy or sell one, understanding the history and unique qualities of this coin adds a new layer of appreciation for something we often overlook in our daily lives. The next time you pick up a penny, remember, you might be holding a tiny piece of history, a coin that carries more than its face value, and a small object that connects generations. Could the coin you pass by every day be more valuable than you realize? That is the question that keeps collectors searching, examining, and sometimes even changing lives one small penny at a time. The 1976 D. Lincoln penny is a perfect example of how ordinary objects can hold extraordinary stories, waiting for those curious enough to look closely. Perhaps somewhere in your collection, or even your pocket change, lies a coin with a secret worth discovering. Most people would never guess that a simple brown penny sitting in a drawer could have a story tied to American history, changing technology, and real collector interest. But what if the penny you've ignored for decades, dated 1978 with no mint mark, is more than just spare change? Today, we're uncovering the true story behind the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny and why collectors still pay close attention to this everyday-looking coin. The 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny is a 1-cent coin struck in the United States during a time of transition. When you see no mint mark on a Lincoln penny, it means the coin was made at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1978, Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of pennies, and they entered circulation across the country. These coins were meant to be used, spent, and forgotten. Yet decades later, many are being carefully examined, graded, and even sold to collectors. To understand this coin, we need to step back into the late 1970s. The United States was dealing with inflation, rising metal prices, and changes in how coins were made. Copper prices were increasing, and the U.S. Mint was already looking for ways to reduce production costs. The Lincoln penny of 1978 was part of the final era of traditional copper cents, just a few years before the Mint switched to copper-plated zinc pennies in 1982. That alone gives the 1978 penny historical importance. The design of the coin was familiar to Americans. On the front, or obverse, is the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1978, this design had been in use for nearly 70 years, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. Lincoln faces right, with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1978 to the right. The back of the coin features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, making this one of the few U.S. coins to show the same person on both sides. Above the memorial are the words "United States of America," and below it, 1 cent. This design was used until 2008, making the 1978 penny a classic example of a mid to late 20th century Lincoln Memorial cent. The metal composition of the 1978 no mint mark penny is one of its key features. It is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. This gives the coin a solid feel and a rich reddish-brown color when well preserved. Many collectors appreciate these older copper pennies because they represent a time before modern cost-cutting changes altered the composition of U.S. coins. At first glance, the 1978 no mint mark penny may seem extremely common, and in circulated condition it usually is. Millions were made and many still exist today. However, value in coin collecting is not just about age. Condition, rarity within condition, and errors play a major role. This is where the 1978 penny starts to become interesting. Most 1978 pennies you'll find in pocket change are worth only 1 cent. But coins that were never heavily circulated, known as uncirculated or mint state coins, can be worth significantly more. Collectors look for sharp details, full original luster, and minimal marks. A high-grade 1978 no mint mark penny that looks almost brand new can attract strong interest. Some of the most valuable examples are those graded by professional grading services. In top condition, with a bright red color indicating minimal exposure to air, certain 1978 pennies have sold for surprisingly high prices. While most uncirculated examples might sell for a few dollars, the finest known specimens have sold at auction for hundreds, and in rare cases over $1,000. These prices are usually achieved by coins graded at the highest levels, where only a tiny number of examples exist. Errors are another reason collectors search through 1978 pennies. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process, and they can dramatically increase value. Some known errors from this year include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned, double strikes, where parts of the design appear twice, and broad strikes, where the coin spreads beyond its normal shape. Even small errors can add value, but dramatic and clearly visible mistakes are the most desirable point. One of the most talked about errors is the double die penny. This happens when the coin die receives a misaligned impression, causing parts of the design, such as the date or lettering, to appear doubled. True double die errors are rare and valuable, but they must be carefully identified, as machine doubling can look similar but is far less valuable. A genuine double die 1978 penny in good condition can be worth significantly more than a normal example. If you're wondering how to tell a real 1978 no mint mark penny from a fake or altered coin, there are a few simple things to look for. First, check the weight. A genuine copper 1978 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. A significantly lighter coin could be damaged, altered, or not genuine. Next, examine the color and surface. Real copper pennies often show natural toning, not bright or artificial shine. Also look closely at the details. On genuine coins, the lettering and Lincoln's features should be sharp and consistent. Be cautious of coins that appear too perfect or have unusual textures, as some altered coins are made by changing dates on other pennies. If a coin seems valuable, professional authentication is always recommended. There are also some fun and surprising details about the 1978 penny. In 1978, the average American could still buy small items for just a few cents, making the penny more useful than it is today. The coin you're holding may have passed through countless hands during a time of major cultural change, from the rise of personal computers to shifts in music, fashion, and daily life. Each scratch or mark can be seen as part of its journey through history. Collectors today love the 1978 no mint mark penny because it represents the end of an era. It is one of the last widely produced Lincoln cents made mostly of copper. For newer collectors, it is affordable and accessible, making it a great entry point into coin collecting. For experienced collectors, finding a high-grade example or a rare error is a rewarding challenge. The appeal also lies in the hunt. Knowing that a valuable coin could still be hiding in old jars, rolls, or inherited collections keeps people searching. The 1978 penny reminds collectors that rarity is not always about how many were made, but about how many survived in exceptional condition. As you look at your own pennies, remember that value is not always obvious at first glance. A simple 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny may not make you rich overnight, but it carries history, craftsmanship, and the possibility of hidden value. Coins like this connect everyday life to the larger story of the nation, so the next time you see a penny dated 1978, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Check the details, the condition, and the weight. You might be holding a small piece of American history that collectors still care about, and that curiosity is what makes coin collecting endlessly fascinating. Most people would never guess that an ordinary brown penny sitting quietly in a jar could hold a story stretching back more than 40 years. But what if I told you that one specific penny from 1980, with no mint mark at all, has caught the attention of collectors across America? Not because it looks special at first glance, but because of what it represents, what can go wrong with it, and what a few rare examples have quietly sold for. Today, we're talking about the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin many people have owned, spent, or ignored without a second thought. The 1980 Lincoln penny is a 1-cent coin produced by the United States Mint. When you see a 1980 penny with no letter under the date, that means it was made at the Philadelphia Mint. At that time, Philadelphia pennies did not use a mint mark, so the absence of a letter is not a mistake. It's a clue to where it was made and part of what defines this coin. At first glance, the coin seems simple. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait faces right on the front, just as it has since 1909. On the back, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008. This design connects the coin to a long and important chapter in American history. To understand why the 1980 penny matters, we need to step back to the time it was created. The year 1980 was a period of economic change in the United States. Inflation was high, metal prices were rising, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to keep producing coins at low cost while meeting massive demand. Pennies were still widely used in everyday transactions, and billions were needed each year. In 1980, the penny was still made mostly of copper. Specifically, it was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This is important because just 2 years later, in 1982, the mint would change the composition to mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. That makes the 1980 penny one of the last regular-issue Lincoln cents made in the traditional copper alloy Americans were used to for generations. Because of this, the 1980 no-mint mark penny represents the end of an era. It's part of the final chapter of solid copper Lincoln cents, and collectors often see it as a bridge between old and modern U.S. coinage. Now let's talk about its features. On the front, you'll see the words "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1980 to the right. There is no mint mark under the date, confirming it was struck in Philadelphia. The portrait was designed by Victor David Brenner, and his initials, VDB, appear subtly on the coin. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands in the center, with the words "United States of America" and 1 cent. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making this one of the few U.S. coins to show the same person on both sides. So why do people talk about the 1980 no-mint mark penny as if it could be valuable? The answer lies in condition, rarity within quality levels, and minting errors. In terms of total numbers, the Philadelphia Mint produced billions of pennies in 1980. That means most 1980 no-mint mark pennies are very common, especially in worn condition. If your coin is scratched, dull, or heavily circulated, its value is usually just 1 cent. However, coin collecting is not about averages. It's about exceptions. Some 1980 pennies were struck with exceptionally sharp detail, strong luster, and no visible marks. These coins are known as high-grade examples, and they are surprisingly rare. Pennies are easily damaged in circulation, and finding one from 1980 in near-perfect condition is much harder than it sounds. Certified examples graded by professional services have sold for impressive prices. In top mint state grades, some 1980 no-mint mark pennies have sold at auction for hundreds of dollars. These are coins that look almost exactly as they did the day they left the mint, with bright copper color and flawless surfaces. Even more interesting are error coins. During the busy production of pennies in 1980, mistakes happened. Some coins were struck off-center, meaning the design is shifted to one side. Others show double details where letters or numbers appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during striking. There are also examples with clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin's edge is missing, or wrong planchet errors, where a penny was struck on metal meant for a different coin. These error coins are where values can jump dramatically, sometimes into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and clarity of the error. Collectors love these mistakes because they offer a glimpse behind the scenes of the minting process. Each error tells a story of machinery running at incredible speed, where even a tiny misstep could create a one-of-a-kind coin. So how do you know if you have a real 1980 no-mint mark penny? Worth a closer look. First, check the date and confirm there is no mint mark under it. That part is easy. Next, look at the color and weight. A genuine 1980 penny should have the rich reddish-brown tone of copper and weigh about 3.11 grams. Be cautious of altered coins. Some people try to change dates or add or remove mint marks to make coins appear more valuable. Under magnification, these alterations usually show signs of tooling, uneven surfaces, or strange textures around the date. If your coin looks unusually perfect or shows a clear error, it may be worth having it examined by a professional coin dealer or a grading service. Authentication and grading are critical steps if you believe your coin has real collector value. There are also some fun and surprising facts about the 1980 penny. Because it is copper, some people mistakenly think it's worth much more just for its metal content. While copper prices do affect perception, melting pennies is illegal in the United States, and collectors value these coins for history and condition, not scrap metal. Another interesting detail is that many collectors build complete Lincoln cent collections by date and mint mark. Even though the 1980 no mint mark penny is common, collectors still need a nice example to complete their sets, especially in high grade. This coin also reminds us how everyday objects can become historical artifacts. In 1980, this penny might have bought a piece of candy or been tossed into a change jar without a second thought. Today, it serves as a time capsule from a very different America. Collectors love the 1980 no mint mark penny because it's approachable. You don't need to be wealthy to start searching for one. You might already have it. It encourages curiosity, careful observation, and patience, which are at the heart of coin collecting. And perhaps that's the biggest appeal. This coin teaches us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden in small details, in condition, in tiny errors, or in the story behind the object itself. So the next time you come across a 1980 penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a moment to look closer. You might be holding a simple cent, or you might be holding a small piece of American history that collectors quietly compete for. Because in the world of coins, even the most ordinary penny can have an extraordinary story, and sometimes the real value isn't just in the price, but in discovering why that coin still matters today. Imagine reaching into a jar of old change and pulling out a penny you've seen 1,000 times before. But what if this one small coin had a hidden story, a quiet mistake, or a detail that collectors still search for today? This is the story of the 1984 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people overlook, yet one that still sparks curiosity nearly 4 decades later. The 1984 D Lincoln penny is a 1-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small letter D below the date on the front of the coin. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile faces right, just like on millions of other pennies. But behind this everyday appearance is a piece of American history tied to changing times, evolving technology, and the careful eyes of collectors. By 1984, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 75 years. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the longest-running design in U.S. coinage history. The 1984 issue came during a period when the United States Mint was adjusting to rising metal costs and modernizing its production methods. These changes would influence how pennies were made and why certain years, including 1984, remain interesting today. The early 1980s were a turning point for the penny. Before 1982, Lincoln cents were made mostly of copper. But copper prices rose sharply, making it more expensive to produce a 1-cent coin than its actual value. As a result, the mint switched to a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. By 1984, this new composition was fully in place. That means the 1984 D penny is about 97.5% zinc, with only a thin copper coating on the outside. This change in metal gave the coin a slightly lighter weight and made it more vulnerable to damage over time. Zinc corrodes easily if the copper coating is scratched or worn through. That's why many 1984 pennies you see today look dull, spotted, or rough. Finding one in clean, original condition is harder than most people expect. The design of the 1984 D Lincoln penny is classic and instantly recognizable. On the front or obverse is Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. Above Lincoln's head is the word Liberty, and to the right is the date, 1984. Just below the date sits the small D mint mark, showing it was made in Denver. Along the edge runs the familiar phrase, "In God We Trust." The back, or reverse, features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. This reverse design remained in use until 2008, making it one of the most familiar coinbacks in American history. In 1984, the Denver Mint produced more than 4 billion Lincoln pennies. That enormous number tells us something important. The 1984 D penny is not rare in general circulation. Most examples are worth just 1 cent. But value in coin collecting is not only about how many were made. It's about condition, demand, and sometimes mistakes. This is where the 1984 D penny becomes more interesting. While it does not have the famous double die error seen on some Philadelphia minted 1984 pennies, Denver coins are known for their own smaller varieties. Some 1984 D pennies show repunched mint marks, where the D was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. These are subtle and often require magnification to see, but collectors enjoy searching for them. There are also off-center strikes, die cracks, and weak strikes found on some 1984 D pennies. These errors happen during the minting process and make each affected coin unique. Even though these errors are usually minor, they can add value, especially if the coin is well preserved. Condition plays a major role in value. A worn 1984 D penny that has been in circulation for years is usually worth face value. But coins that were pulled from circulation early or stored carefully can still have sharp details and bright surfaces. In uncirculated condition, especially those graded by professional services, the value can rise. Some high-grade 1984 pennies have sold for impressive prices compared to their face value. Coins graded in top mint state levels have sold at auction for tens or even over $100. These prices are not common, but they show how condition alone can transform an ordinary penny into a desirable collectible. Collectors pay close attention to the coin surfaces. On the front, Lincoln's cheek and jawline are the first places to show wear. On the back, the steps and columns of the Lincoln Memorial are key areas. Sharp lines and original luster are signs the coin has not seen much circulation. If you're wondering how to identify a genuine 1984 Lincoln penny, the process is simple. First, check the date and mint mark. The D should be directly below the date, not too large or oddly shaped. The coin should weigh about 2.5 grams. A digital scale can help confirm this. Because the coin has a zinc core, it should not stick to a magnet. Be cautious of altered coins. Sometimes, mint marks are added to pennies that didn't originally have them. Under magnification, an added mint mark often looks rough, raised, or out of place. Genuine mint marks are smooth and blend naturally with the surface of the coin. One surprising fact about the 1984 penny is how often people confuse it with other 1984 issues. Many hear about valuable 1984 pennies and assume all of them are rare. In reality, value depends on the mint, the specific variety, and condition. This confusion keeps collectors checking their coins carefully, just in case. Another fun detail is how these pennies reflect everyday American life in the 1980s. They were in pockets during a time of changing technology, new music, and economic shifts. Each one passed through countless hands, quietly witnessing history as it happened. Collectors today appreciate the 1984 Lincoln penny not because it's flashy or famous, but because it represents the challenge of the hobby. It reminds collectors that even common coins deserve a second look. The thrill is in the search, in finding that one coin that stands out from billions of others. This penny also appeals to beginner collectors. It's affordable, easy to find, and teaches important lessons about grading, mint marks, and errors. For experienced collectors, it's a reminder that patience and attention to detail still matter. As we look back at the 1984 Lincoln penny, it's clear that its story is not about instant riches. It's about history, craftsmanship, and the hidden details that surround us every day. A simple cent can carry decades of stories, changes, and quiet surprises. So the next time you see a 1984 penny with a small D under the date, don't rush past it. Hold it for a moment. Look closely, because sometimes the most ordinary coins are the ones that teach us the most, and the next penny you check might just have a story waiting to be discovered. Most people have held this coin in their hand without ever giving it a second look. It looks ordinary, almost boring. But hidden inside this everyday penny is a story that connects American history, modern coin production, and a few surprising discoveries that still excite collectors today. This is the story of the 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln penny is a 1-cent coin produced by the United States Mint. When a Lincoln penny from this year has no mint mark under the date, it means it was struck in Philadelphia. For many Americans, this coin lived quietly in pockets, piggy banks, and cash registers throughout the 1990s. It paid for gum, newspapers, and parking meters, never asking for attention. Yet decades later, collectors began looking at it more closely, and that is where things get interesting. To understand this penny, we need to go back to the year 1991. The United States was in a period of transition. The Cold War had just ended, technology was advancing rapidly, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins every year to keep up with daily commerce. Pennies were still widely used, and Lincoln cents were among the most heavily produced coins in the country. In 1991, the Philadelphia Mint struck well over 4 billion Lincoln pennies. These coins were never meant to be rare. They were meant to be useful. The Lincoln penny design used in 1991 had already been familiar to Americans for decades. The front of the coin shows President Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. By 1991, This portrait had become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. On the back of the coin, you find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. Inside the memorial, if you look very closely, you can even see a tiny seated statue of Lincoln, making this one of the few U.S. coins to show the same person on both sides. The metal composition of the 1991 Lincoln penny is another important detail. Unlike older wheat pennies made mostly of copper, the 1991 penny is made from zinc with a thin copper coating. Specifically, it contains 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper. This change happened in the early 1980s as copper prices rose. While this makes the coin lighter and cheaper to produce, it also means these pennies are more vulnerable to damage, corrosion, and wear over time. At first glance, there seems to be nothing rare about a 1991 no-mint mark penny. Most of them are worth exactly 1 cent. Even today, banks will happily accept them at face value. However, collectors know that value is not always about how many coins were made. Sometimes it is about how a coin was made, or how it was accidentally made wrong. One of the most talked about features connected to 1991 Lincoln pennies involves the design on the reverse, specifically the spacing of the letters in the phrase America. Most 1991 pennies were struck with what collectors call a close AM reverse. In this design, the letters A and M in America are very close together, almost touching. This was the standard design intended for circulation at the time. But a small number of 1991 pennies were struck with a different reverse design, known as the wide AM. In this version, the A and M in America are clearly separated, with noticeable space between them. This reverse was originally meant for proof coins, not regular circulation coins. Somehow, a few of these proof-style reverse dies were used to strike regular pennies at the Philadelphia Mint. This small mistake turned an ordinary penny into something collectors search for even today. A genuine 1991 no-mint mark penny with a wide AM reverse can be worth hundreds of dollars, especially in high-grade condition. Some examples have sold at auction for several $100s, depending on their quality and eye appeal. Compared to a penny's face value, that kind of difference feels almost unbelievable. Aside from the wide AM variety, there are other errors that can add value to a 1991 Lincoln penny. These include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned on the coin, and double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a mistake during the die creation process. These errors are not common, but they do exist, and collectors are always watching for them. Condition also plays a major role in value. A heavily worn 1991 penny pulled from circulation is usually worth 1 cent. But a coin that has never been circulated, with full original luster and no signs of wear, can be worth more to collectors. High-grade examples certified by professional grading services can sell for several dollars, even without errors, simply because so few coins survive in pristine condition. There have been real auction sales that highlight this difference. Ordinary uncirculated 1991 no-mint mark pennies often sell for a few dollars. Wide AM examples, when authenticated, have sold for several $100s. Error coins can fall anywhere in between, depending on how dramatic the mistake is and how well the coin has been preserved. If you are curious whether you might have a valuable example, knowing how to identify a real one is essential. First, check the date and the area below it. If there is no mint mark, the coin was made in Philadelphia. Next, turn the coin over and look closely at the word America. Compare the spacing between the A and the M. If they appear nearly touching, it is the common close AM design. If there is a clear gap, you may have something special. Weight and appearance also matter. Genuine 1991 pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams. Any significant difference could indicate damage or alteration. Be cautious of coins that look too shiny or strangely colored, as some people attempt to alter common pennies to imitate rare varieties. When in doubt, professional authentication is always the safest option. There are also some fun and surprising details about the 1991 Lincoln penny that many people do not know. For example, because these coins are zinc-based, they can develop bubbling or peeling if the copper coating is damaged. This is why many older pennies from the 1990s look rough today. Another interesting fact is that billions of these coins were made, yet only a tiny fraction are actively collected, making high-quality survivors harder to find than you might expect. Collectors today appreciate the 1991 no-mint mark penny not because it is ancient or made of precious metal, but because it represents a moment in modern U.S. coin history. It reminds people that even in an age of mass production, small mistakes can slip through and create unexpected treasures. It also appeals to collectors who enjoy searching through everyday change, hoping to spot something overlooked by others. This penny is especially popular among beginner collectors. It teaches important lessons about mint marks, design varieties, condition, and patience. It shows that you do not need to buy expensive coins to enjoy the hobby. Sometimes, the most interesting finds come from the most ordinary places, so the next time you see a 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, take a moment before you toss it aside. Turn it over. Look closely. That simple coin may not change your life, but it carries a story of American history, modern minting, and the quiet thrill of discovery. And who knows, one careful glance might reveal that you are holding something far more interesting than a single cent.